Well, that sounds like the beginning of a show to me. I don't know about all you guys, but I think we're now underway. Welcome, everybody out there. How you guys doing? Hope you had a good week, and you made it to your Friday, a Friday. Hopefully it's your Friday, too. I got some weird feedback going on. Some little digital thing cooking. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if it's my phone is in the wrong position, but I don't think so. It's never done it before, but anyway. I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for joining me, as always, here on the portal. We got a lot in store for you. I got a lot in store for you because tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it's just me and you. It's just us. So you guys are my co-hosts tonight, so I look forward to all of our witty and wonderful exchanges in chat, and we'll keep the ball rolling. We still don't have phones, obviously. I don't have any idea when we're going to get new phone lines for the show, but I don't know. It's just another expense, you know. And outside of when Deb's on, we really don't get a ton of phone calls, so I'm a little reluctant to take on that extra expense for the shows right now, but we'll see. We'll see. If I find a great deal or another option, we will certainly explore that. But until then, it's just us in the chat and the words on the screen and the sound of my voice and all of the wonder that we can find in the portal. So I don't know about you, but I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to go. And hopefully I'll keep you entertained throughout the journey tonight. So we're going to get to the news in just moments here. We'll start out with the news, as always, and then we'll dive into more mayhem as we can. And we'll get to the cryptids eventually to round out the show tonight. So usually the last hour is the cryptids or thereabouts, depending on what's going on. But certainly there's never a concrete plan for the show. So if we get sidelined into something else, that's perfectly fine. If it's something you guys want to talk about, we can talk about it. So that's always on the board. Don't worry. But anyway, I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chats. We got Barbara over there, not only in YouTube, but in Rumble. Thank you, Barbara, for checking it out over there. That's great to see you. We are streaming now on YouTube, Twitch, and Rumble, all three simultaneously. So hopefully you guys find that extraordinarily beneficial to not only finding the shows, but spreading word about the shows. So, but great to see everybody. Shawnette Zakaria, that's a new name. Good to see you, Shawnette. Thanks for coming in. It's wonderful to meet you. Hopefully you enjoy yourself and you enjoy the shows. So, excellent. Special congratulations to John Stevenson, who managed to pull the win at our Discord t-shirt giveaway, which I finally got around to tonight. Sorry about that, but it took me a while, but I did get it done tonight. Minion helped me draw a winner, and so congratulations. Sorry, Teresa. Sorry you won't be here, Teresa Votaw. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. But yeah, her phone is glitching. Oh, it's Chad. That's Chad Votaw. Okay. All right, Chad. Well, I hope you stick around, or you can stick around on her phone. That'd be wonderful. So, excuse me, a little froggy. I've been sitting here kind of quiet for a long time, actually most of the day. So when I start talking on the shows, it definitely catches me. Anyway, I'm just trying to think, is there anything else? I don't think so. Sheldon had other plans tonight, so he couldn't make it. That's why he's not here with you tonight, but he sends his love and his best to all of you. So anyway, I'm sure he'll be rejoining us next week. And other than that, I think that's everything up front. I think so. Yeah, I think that's all I had on the front end. So all right, let's get into it. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for some of the news. And hopefully we'll keep you informed and entertained, and you might learn something you didn't know. Those are all my objectives for the news. So hi, Wendy. Wendy's in here. Studenheimer, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. It's great to see you. Appreciate you catching the live shows. Buy a lotto ticket, John. Annie. Yeah, he's lucky today. It might be your lucky day, John. She might be onto something. So maybe a lottery ticket should be in your future. And if you win, don't forget us little people. All right, so without further ado, I guess that's it. Hello to all of you guys. Thank you all for coming in. It's wonderful to see you, and we're going to get to some news and see what I dug up for you. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. It was earlier today. So it'll be news to all of us. All right, let's get to it. Here we go. Yeah, maybe tonight might manifest. You never know. John, the only news you trust. Amen, brother. Amen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the news desk, and it's me. I'm here with you, and we're going to dive into some news stories and see what I've pulled up. And remember, I always say this as a caveat on the beginning of every show, and I always encourage throughout the shows, whatever we discuss, whatever sites we visit, please visit these sites. They are incredibly well done, and your support will definitely help keep the lights on for these people that are working so hard to provide these sites and information and articles. And it's just incredible. I just love these sites. But the first story tonight, this one what the hell did I do? What did I do? Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. It went back into the original window for some reason. But I got it back. I caught it. This one, okay, so here's the thing. You know, I know that there's, how do I say this? I'm not a huge fan of shows like The View, you know, and many shows like that. I think that they obviously have a very clear slant, and I'm not taking a conservative or a left-right view on this at all. I just don't enjoy those shows because I think largely they're propagandizing their ideas and ideals, and I think that that's problematic because, you know, I don't think people need to be force-fed opinions, and you know, I'm not telling you what to believe, which side of the aisle you're on, or if you're on any side. I'm not personally. That's my point, but everybody gets painted into corners, and certainly that show does a lot of that, pigeonholing people into, you know, well, if you don't agree with this, you're this. And I don't like that kind of stuff. But I always did like Whoopi Goldberg back in the day. Not so much what she's doing now, but what she did before, and, you know, in her acting career, I thought was pretty entertaining. So I did find this, and I thought it was interesting, and it does play into our categories of paranormal, so I guess we'll dive into that. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. This article is, and again, this is one of those sites. Awesome site. Can't recommend it enough. Please check it out. Whoopi Goldberg, aliens have been here for quite some time. Well, there you go. Even Whoopi, I want to say Whoopi. Why do I want to say Whoopi? Whoopi Goldberg says they're here. The actress in The View moderator, they call them moderators there. There's nothing moderate about that show. Recently hinted that she knows something about aliens that we don't. Being the actress who played the role of enigmatic long-lived extraterrestrial Guinan in Star Trek The Next Generation, Whoopi Goldberg certainly knows a thing or two about science fiction aliens. As it turns out, however, she seems to know a thing or two about the real thing as well. Oh, really? Okay. During a recent episode of The View, guest Kumail Nanjiani, I think is how you pronounce that, offered up a few tongue-in-cheek comments about the possibilities of extraterrestrial visitation. I think they're waiting for us to clean up a little bit so they can come here and tell us we're really messing things up, she said. In a surprising twist, Goldberg suddenly and quite calmly offered a matter-of-fact rebuttal. They're already here, she said. They're already. They've been here for quite some time. When Nanjiani asked her what they were doing, she replied, "They're watching us." Maybe she means her show. This isn't the first time Goldberg has hinted at knowing something about aliens. Back in 2023, she reacted to a congressional hearing on UFOs, and in particular the claims of non-human entities, by stating that she already knew all about it. So, could Goldberg have some insider knowledge about UFOs and alien visitors? we may never know for sure. Well, I don't know what she's got knowledge of and what she doesn't. I don't pretend to know, and nor do I. I mean, here's the thing, and this is kind of the whole celebrity thing. It's like, I really don't care what celebrities think about anything. You know, I mean, fantastic if you believe, fantastic if you don't. It doesn't change the game for me. I think that part of our lives and society has probably gone by the wayside for quite a while now, that people don't hang on every word that a celebrity says, like, oh, is it real? Do you think? And then, oh, really? Well, then I believe it too, for sure. It's like, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care about your politics. We don't care about, what you do in your own life for the most part. But I think that, they still, I mean, her show, they weigh in a lot of topics. So it was her doing her job. But still, does it matter what Whoopi Goldberg thinks? No, not really. I mean, I firmly believe they're there too, but I don't expect anybody to believe because I said that I believe. I mean, it's just my own opinion. It's from personal experience. I don't have anything else to say. So anyway, that's the first story, and you be the judge. Do you think Whoopi is on to something here? Maybe she is. I mean, I don't disagree with her position, but again, I don't know. Anyway, you be the judge. Do you believe they're out there? Do you believe they might be here already? Do you think they've already been here? You could be right, or you could be wrong. I don't know. We all could be right or wrong. All right, let's go to the next one. And this one is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com as well. I don't know what this is. This is a new word to me, but it came up on the headline, so I was like, oh, this is interesting. What the hell does that mean? Well, I don't know. But maybe we'll learn something together. And this comes from the Metaphysics and Psychology. This one isn't too long. No, it's not too long. Okay. And here it is from unexplained-mysteries.com. There it was, big throat clear. I always mute for those things. Just, try to be polite. Nobody wants to hear that. Hell, I don't even want to hear it, but I got no choice. All right, this one is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it's panpsychism, I guess. Could everything in the universe be conscious? I like this idea. I've always thought that, well, I don't want to preach my own beliefs really too much, but I've always believed that things were brought into being by somebody or some being of some kind, however you identify that really has a pretty deep understanding of how things should work, I guess. And if all things were brought into being by whatever this divine force is, then is it therefore imbued with that divine presence? And therefore, does it have a consciousness? And I kind of think it does. So anyway, this is the article. Panpsychism is everything in the universe consciousness. One theory suggests that everything in the universe, even the chair you're sitting on, oh, my poor chair. I've done some horrible things to it through the years, has some level of consciousness. While in recent years, science has made great strides in unraveling the workings of the physical human brain, today we are still no closer to understanding the nature of human consciousness. As things stand, we don't really know what consciousness even is. Is it something that manifests as a result of the functionality of our physical brain, or does it exist independent of our physical selves? It's even been suggested, for example, that our conscious self might exist in multiple dimensions, and that we live and interact with the physical world by driving our bodies using the brain as an interface. I like that idea. While it is clear that humans and other animals possess consciousness, one theory goes one step further by suggesting that absolutely everything from the planets in the solar system to the chair you're sitting on are conscious as well. Known as panpsychism, the idea is not a new one, but a growing number of scientists seem to be subscribing to the notion that consciousness may be far more pervasive than we previously thought. That does not necessarily suggest that a chair, for example, is just as conscious as a human, but that objects possess levels of consciousness relative to their state and complexity. At the most basic level, even fundamental particles may possess some level of consciousness. Without fully understanding what consciousness is, how it works, and how it arises, however, it's impossible to say for sure what really does have consciousness and what doesn't. And what do you define as a consciousness? Is there, I mean, I don't know. Even simpler organisms can show that they, I mean, I don't know, it kind of sounds like survivalism, but they will go towards, beneficial things. And that might just be a survival mechanism to some, but what if it is something more than that? Like what if there were two equal good things placed in front of them, but one of them was imbued with love and adoration and all of that stuff, and the other one was imbued with hate and anger and rage? I would think it would be more likely to go towards the good one, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's blind. I don't know. It is interesting though, but I don't know that individual particles are conscious, but I think that consciousness can work through those things, can exist through those things. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I don't pretend to know, the ins and outs and the ups and downs of all of this stuff, but it's just my mind at work. When I read things like this, I try to conceptualize and try to put it in terms that I can understand. And I think that consciousness is probably one of the forces of the universe that's we just can't measure, but it's equally as important as, like strong and weak nuclear forces. I just think it's anomalous to us, so we don't know how to quantify what that is or how to define it or how to track it. But I'm pretty sure that everything has some level of consciousness or that some consciousness can work through those items. I don't know. You be the judge. Again, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here because I got a microphone and you get to deal with it. So that's my thoughts on that one. What do you think? Maybe? Maybe not? Well, let's get to the next one. I don't have any answers. Just a lot of questions. That's why I do this show. All right, let's get to the next one. And the next one is also from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this will be our last one for tonight, I guess. Yeah, I guess it is. This is our last news article for the night. And hopefully it's a goodie. This one is kind of interesting. I pulled this one up, I think, a few days ago. Yeah, because it's from March 24th. But I guess every country probably has these things. I don't think this is unique to any one country. I think every country probably has these weird files that we call the X-Files based on the old television show. But this is an article about the X-Files or X-Files, and this one has to do with Sweden. From unexplained-mysteries.com, Modern Mysteries category. Sweden's owned X-Files stored within gigantic paranormal archive. I would love to go look at that. That would be amazing. The enormous archive contains countless books, documents, and files pertaining to the unexplained. Few outside of Sweden will have likely heard of it, but the AFU Archives for the Unexplained, is one of the largest collections of paranormal documents, books, and files anywhere in the world. Currently run by curious investigators of the unknown, Klaus Svan and Anders Lillegren, the archive is situated in the north of Norrköping and takes up a whopping 700 square meters of space. That's a lot of stuff. Man, I bet you they got activity in that room. It says, within its walls are more than 50 years of books and documents pertaining to every possible aspect of the unexplained, including the written testimonies of first-hand experiencers. What we're building here at the AFU is a depository of knowledge, says Svan. We're trying to get as much as we can on every kind of unsolved scientific mystery that we can find to make this available for the world. That's really cool. While the archive is currently in the process of being digitized to provide easier access to its records, it is still possible for the interested parties to secure an appointment to visit the building in person. Ooh, cool. That'd be awesome. That'd be a great field trip for the portal. In total, some 300 people were granted access each year. One of these is Greg Agigian of the Pennsylvania State University, who wanted to use the archive to help him research the history of UFO sightings in the country. The AFU is without question the most comprehensive archive for materials involving the global history of the UFO phenomena in the world, he said. One cannot study the subject thoroughly without consulting its holdings. With any luck, once the archive has been digitized, the general public will have easier access to it. When that happens, who knows what secrets will be unearthed within its files. The official website of the AFU can be found here. All right, for any of you guys interested, I'll put the link in the chats, and you can explore it at your leisure. But not during the show. Do it after the show. Okay, so it's in those chats. I got to put it in the Rumble chat still. Oops, where did that go? There it is. 17 now. Caveman Steve. All right. Way to roll, dude. Caveman Steve is over there in our Rumble crowd. Very cool. All right, so here we go. That's that article. I don't know. That'd be really cool. I think that's the one beauty of the internet, I think, is that it does allow the exchange of ideas and knowledge at, which has never been duplicated in the history of the world. And I think that's incredibly amazing and fantastic. And yeah, I love that there's things like this taking off and becoming a thing. I mean, if we could it's like the new library at Alexandria, really. I mean, this is just one topic area, but imagine the internet probably has most, or at least a large sum of our recorded histories there, and recorded knowledge is available in some measure on the internet. You got to wade through a bunch of garbage, though, too. There's a lot of garbage on the internet, but there's also a lot of fantastic stuff that's just waiting for the curious and the mindful. But anyway, that's really fantastic, and I like it. But that's going to wrap up the news for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you feel like you learned something, and you can explore more at your own time. But that's what I covered for you tonight. So, hope that was worthwhile. But let's get back to the rest of the show. Trusted news, ladies and gentlemen. Most trusted news. All right, well, that was news. Hopefully you learned something, feel like it was worth your while, and brought you on a journey of knowledge and understanding. I don't know. Maybe. At least hopefully it was entertaining. I got to pull up some stuff here because I got some stuff for you. This one looks kind of cool. All right, so we're going to start on a Ranker article, and these are fantastic. I love Ranker.com. Pretty much whatever you're interested in, you can find lists and ranked lists of things, people's submissions and such. Oftentimes they're created from Facebook or Reddit or somewhere. And they're phenomenal. They really are very well done. But this is one that we're going to get to now, and this is from their Graveyard Shift, and I especially love the Graveyard Shift because it's all the creepy, bizarre, wild stuff, and it's right up our alley. So, what's not to love? But so the Graveyard Shift readers share the creepiest things they've seen at night that they can't explain. Yikes, that's a little creepy. Creepy deepy. All right, so we're up on the screen there. Again, this is Graveyard Shift on Ranker.com. I'll put well, I don't know if we're going to get through the whole list. When I finish this list in whatever show that happens, because we'll do some now, and I don't know how many there are here, but I will include the link to the article for you guys to check out, and to check out other ones, because as you can see on the top, people describe the creepiest things they've seen, 30 of the most harrowing true stories, security guards and night watchmen. I mean, I don't know what it is about night guarding and watching, but you're bound to see something weird and bizarre. So there's so many other articles here that you can link to and get, but we're going to get to this. This was compiled, at least, by August Alva, and this article is from September 21st, 2023. And I haven't read this one yet, but I love these kind of articles because these are first-hand accounts from people, and they are alleged to be true. I can't verify that they are. There's no way to look into any of these other than taking them at face value. But, if they are indeed true, then something incredible is going on. So anyway, I'm going to skip the first part and just get right to the meat here. The meat and taters, and this one has 130 votes. And this is number one. It's Ghost Crossing. And this is Facebook commenter Kalb space E space H. Calb H. Okay. All right. It says, I was driving from Coffeyville to Lawrence, Kansas with a couple of my friends at night, and it was raining and pitch dark on the road. And all of a sudden, multiple ghost-like figures crossed the road in front of my car. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but then I was astonished when all my friends said, "Did you see white figures cross the road?" We were completely freaked out. Yeah, that's a crazy one. And I'll tell you, that could be a residual event. It doesn't necessarily have to be intelligent, but there was this one story that I remember. And I don't know what to make of it because it is crazy. And it's this guy's driving a semi. I think I heard it on Monsters and Mysteries in America on that old TV show. And it was pretty incredible. And I'm going to paraphrase it quite a bit, but this guy and his girlfriend are driving a truck route. And I think they dumped off their load and they just pulled off the road to this one spot near, it was in a forest near a lake or a pond or something. And they were deciding to camp in the night. And I think it was somewhere in the southeast United States, as I recall. But what ended up happening was they were kind of still awake. Well, they were definitely still awake, and they were just going to kind of start relaxing into their night or whatever. But they realized that this fog just kind of rolled in, and they were all kind of creeped out by it because it just came out of nowhere, and it was like soup. And they were like, "What's going on?" And then they looked out the truck windows, the semi-truck windows, and they could see there were figures moving in this fog. And it looked like people were walking around. And they were like, what in the hell's going on? This is really strange. So I think what happened next, and they heard like bumps on the truck, and like they thought, well, maybe somebody's trying to break into the truck or whatever. And they were kind of freaked out. And so I think he turned on the lights, the exterior lights, and illuminated this fog and these figures. And it turned out they were all like zombies. They were all like these rotting corpses wandering around and reaching up and grabbing onto the truck and stuff. And they were all freaked out. They didn't know what to do, but it was clear that whatever was going on, it was targeting these people specifically. And it seemed to be very intelligently aware that they were there and freaking them out. So the guy quick jumped in the driver's seat, started the truck, and they bailed. They took off and got out of there. And they drove for, several miles until they came to a rest stop. And he said he pulled over to just grab some fuel, find a place to park, and just decompress. And he said he got out of his truck, and there all over his truck was these rotten, slimy handprints all over his truck. So whatever happened, if this is indeed a legitimate story, and I'm sure they do some background on these things, so they must have really believed it, but it literally was a physical event. So it was really strongly manifested in that fog, and it was like it had an intelligence. It's just horribly terrifying event. Annie Manul says, it wasn't me, but me and friends used to dress up as headless ghosts at a county four-way stop. That's a little dark and twisted. That's a good way to get yourself run over. Yikes. That's scary stuff. Man. In high school, me and some friends rented an apartment next to a funeral home and had at least 10 experiences. Caveman Steve says that over on Rumble. Wow. No, that's creepy too. Yeah, there's something about funeral homes. I mean, I don't know what it is. If maybe spirits linger there just because it was a place where, people mourn their death or their passing, or if it's just maybe there's just some lost spirits there. I don't know. But funeral homes definitely are one of those places that seem to attract at least some kind of activity at all times. I mean, I'm sure there's some out there that are absolutely quiet, but it seems more often than not when you hear the word an old funeral home, especially houses that were made out of old funeral homes, it's like, oh, yeah, that's not good. So anyway, that was the first story, and an additional story that I wanted to relate to you guys. Was it a creepy story? Hell yeah, that was creepy. That was very creepy. All right, let's go to number 2, Deadly Growl, and this was submitted by Richard W. from Facebook, and he says, didn't see it, but we could definitely hear it. Never had the hair all over my body come up like that in my life. It was such a deep growl. God, I know what that sounds like. Ugh. It still gives me chills. And it was somewhere behind me and my buddy while sitting on the side deck of the house. It was late and dark in a valley, and we heard this and look at each other like we were about to be in serious trouble. I could feel every hair on my body stick straight up, and he asked if he should get one of those weapons, and I looked at him and said, it's too late. Neither one of us will make it. And we sat as still as a rock that had been sitting forever. But as a couple of minutes passed, we slowly got up and slowly made our way into the house and grabbed a flashlight and a piece. But when he flashed the light on the hillside, all we could see was big, glowing eyes. Neither I nor my buddy will ever forget that night. Yeah, I don't blame you, Richard. I don't think I would either. In fact, I've been growled at and I still haven't forgot it, and it was when I was 14. Horrible, horrible experience. All right, the next one is a friendly visit. And this one is from Facebook commenter Lorna W. In October, I just put my son to bed. And I go out for a smoke, and I go back into the house, and I see a dark mass / silhouette of my friend who just passed standing in the hallway. I'm standing in the kitchen, and he stands there for a few minutes and then walks into the wall. Wow. Well, I think that was maybe a goodbye, right? I think that's, I mean, here's the thing, and I know it seems extraordinarily creepy, and maybe even in really bad taste, but when you think about it, I think spirits are very extraordinarily limited on the ways that they can communicate with you. And if it's somebody that you knew, then maybe that was his way of saying, look, I'm fine. I'm okay. I just wanted to come back and say hello and give you my love and then take off. And you don't know, but that's pretty incredible. That's pretty incredible. But I don't think those instances are really negative. I really don't. I just think that those incidences are somebody just trying to let you know, because it's the great unknown. What happens after this is an extraordinarily big unknown. We don't know. We have stories from people. We have ideas. We have our religions and faith and such. But until you go there, you just maybe don't know. I think one of my cats is playing with the door. Like, hey, let me in. Not tonight, kitty. I'll be like, no, furry face. The pattern is full. All right, next one is Strange Stalker. Oh, that's creepy. Here's the thing. In a lot of these cases, people are more creepy than most of this paranormal stuff, honestly. And this was from Facebook commenter Herbert R. And I don't know if this is supernatural or not. It says, I saw a guy outside of my apartment just standing around looking up at my window, and then he got into the car with another guy. Now, that freaked me out big time. Yeah, no doubt, Herbert. You don't know what they're doing. It's like, yeah, that's the place. We'll have to come back later. And then do you sleep after that? I mean, could you? So Caveman Steve comes back with some more from his 10 experiences in living near that funeral home. He says TV would turn on, flip the channels, radio would turn on, play old 20 swing music, glass smashing, yet no broken glass in the house. Water in the sink turned on 2 hours later or after we left for work. Buddy was sleeping. Woke him up. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of activity. And oftentimes, again, it's more incidental things. And I think maybe is, again, just for sake of argument, maybe none of that was it was intentionally to scare you guys, but maybe it was more like, hey, I'm here. And I try to think of it from the position of a spirit. We don't know if they're really aware of any other spirits that might be around or not. They might be in their own funk. We don't know if they're, aware that, oh, look out the window, there's some headless person walking by. They may not be at all aware of it, but they're sitting in solitude in a building or a place. And there you are, walking right by them, maybe even right through them, over and over and over again. And maybe they just want to be acknowledged. Maybe they just want that connection. Because I think that's fundamentally, we all need connection. We all need that connection with another person. And so they do what they can to say, hey, I'm here. Look, the TV just turned on. They shouldn't do that. Doesn't go through channels. Old music coming on. I don't know. Just maybe forms of attempted communication. But it does seem creepy. I'll give you that. It's like, yeah, that's not supposed to happen. But it does. So, very strange stuff. All right, let's go to the next one. And this is a phantom horse from Facebook commenter John C. I saw a silhouette of a horse and a rider galloping on a golf course at night while chilling with a few friends. Years later, I found out the golf course used to be a farm in the early 1900s, and one of those hills on the course is called Dead Horse Hill. Oh, wow. Well, that's quite a correlation. And again, that could be residual, just an imprint of another time. I mean, it's a real gray area between what's residual and what is intelligent. If maybe it would happen whether people were there or not, or maybe the people being there is one of the triggering events to make that moment replay. And it's the old, does a tree make noise when it falls down if nobody's there to hear it? Well, I guess fundamentally no, because noise is an observed thing. And if nobody's observing it, then, there's no noise. But would these events play out if nobody was there to observe it, or is it something to do with their presence that triggers the energies to release and replay an event? I often wonder about that. And could it still be intelligent? Like, oh, there's people out here. Yeah, it's our farm. I'm going to go ride out and spook them out. You don't know. It could be any of the above. But just seeing a riding horse, it doesn't seem real interactive. Generally, that's the criteria. If it interacts with the people present, then it's probably intelligent because, it's aware and it knows where you are and what you're doing and it wants you to react. But if you just happen to be there and see something, it may not be intelligent at all. It's just some stored event. All right, so we go to number 6, Inexplicable Shadow, and this is from Annie S. A shadow moving across my ceiling freaked me out. I just watched, frozen in my bed. Yeah, the whole moving shadows thing is certainly creepy. And again, I think we often go back to our, if it's light, it's good. If it's dark, it's bad. Kind of old Hollywood cowboy movies thing. The white hat guys were the good guys and the dark hat guys were the bad guys. And I think that follows us even still today. that we jump to those conclusions. It doesn't necessarily mean it's negative or evil, but it's certainly it's certainly disconcerting, I think. And the next one into the same thing from Johnny D. Shadow figures, sometimes on top of me, choking me. Floating balls of light, moving furniture. Now that sounds very very directed and horrible. So yeah, Johnny D's dealing with something that definitely seems horrible, because it's actually crossing the line and making horrible contact with the person. So not good, Johnny D. Who are you going to call? This one's one sentence, number 7. Cemetery headstone with my name. That was from JLS. Okay, well, I don't know. That's one thing I don't see very much of. I don't see many people having the name Brent, so that hasn't come up for me personally. Let's go to the next one. Eerie green light, number 8. From Facebook commenter Jessica P. A glowing neon green, misty-looking something hovering in my living room early one morning while it was still dark, about 14 years ago. I stared at it for a bit, trying to figure it out, turned the light on and back off, and it was gone. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, that's not your normal light. I don't know. Sometimes misty green doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound like a good light. All right, here we go. Number 9, missing cabin. Actually, this is from Seth U. Actually, more interesting is what I didn't see. There's a summer camp in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, with a supposedly haunted cabin. Well, they took me within 50 feet of it, and I could not see it. No prank, no joke on their part. It was a big-time creepy feel. I wonder what that means. You couldn't see it. Is that some psychological protective mechanism, or is it just maybe not really there? I don't know. Is it only manifest in the darkness? So Caveman Steve said, when we moved, the TV never switched channels. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I guess that's the good part for you, because that means it didn't follow you. All right, number 10, fireball. Got a fireball cooking. A floating fireball that went side to side, then up and down before disappearing. And that was by, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Cheii. Chai D is the last initial, I guess. And the next one is from Heath, EM. Sounds like what I saw. It just floated there. I thought it was a craft of some sort. And then the last one was Jeremy Stanton, E. We have something like that here in Joplin, Missouri area. We call it the Hornet Spook Light. It responds to sound. There's a bunch of YouTube videos on it. Yeah, the spook lights are a strange phenomenon for sure. And, a lot of people just try to debunk it away as some atmospheric thing or ball lightning or, some misconstrued distant car lights or something. But I think for as long as those legends have continued and people seriously looking into it, there seems to be definitely a very strange phenomena associated with it. I don't know what those strange lights are. Those orbs, are they potentially spirits? Are they potentially something else? Are they interdimensional beings? Are they extraterrestrial in some measure? And it's anybody's guess. So we're going to move to number 11, Weird Lights. This is by Dan R. A glowing ball of light in my room. I saw it 3 nights in a row. Oof. See, now a person like that, I would be asking, well, did you have anybody pass recently? Anything like that? Any big problems in your life that maybe it was a reassuring presence? God only knows what it could be, but I can't try to solve these because who knows, but it does make you wonder if it's just 3 nights and then that's it. What was that? It's kind of a one-off, but it's on 3 nights rather than just one night. But those one-offs are strange enough as they are. When something happens, it occurs maybe even over a period of days, and then it just stops. And seems to suggest some kind of transient nature of of the phenomena, that it can just come and go, and maybe it just chose your house that night. Yeah, very strange. Weird lights, a glowing ball of light in my room 3 nights in a row, and the next Jordan O comes in, fluttering lights on my bedroom ceiling. I don't know what fluttering lights mean. Is that like Christmas lights, kind of like the blinky things, or what? I don't know. Some of these are extraordinarily short. They don't really give you much to work with. It's not a real narrative. But anyway, this number 12, Mysterious Blue Spiral, this from Whitney Danielle W. Came home around 1 a.m. to see a blue spiral in the sky, right behind my house. It went behind the hills, still don't know what it was to this day, but so fascinating and scary to watch at the time. When I hear that, I think of like SpaceX, when they dump their boosters. Sometimes they still have some juice in them, and they sit and spin in a spirally pattern. Well, I mean, they all have juices, because then they make them re-land and they reuse those. But I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know how big the spiral was, how high up in the sky it was. And I think it's extraordinarily tough to really gauge that stuff. Like, how far off the ground was it? Well, I don't know. Could have been 100 feet. Could have been 10,000 feet. How do you know? I know I can't do it. I have no distance perspective in the night sky, really. It's just like, well, it looked like it was way up there. So anyway, interesting. Magic Tree. I don't know about this. This is from Emiliano T. A glowing tree. 3 of my friends and my parents saw it as well. And that's it. That's the whole story. Really? What else? What happened? Did you go look at it? Did you stay away from it? Did it disappear? What the hell's going on? So these are almost too brief, really. I wish there was more context of what they experienced, because usually trees don't glow that I know of. So that in and of itself is very strange. Here's a little more meat on the bones here. This is a triangle light formation by Aaron A. It said, on the night of September 12th, 2001, my college roommate and I were sitting on our little front patio talking about what we thought might happen given the events of the day before. Well, I looked up and saw a weirdly bright and fairly large light moving from right to left across the sky. It seemed to be moving very quickly, but also oddly very smoothly. I said, hey, look at that plane, and then remembered that all regular flights were grounded. My roommate said it might be military. The light moved across the sky and slowed down, and then 2 more lights came in from above it and joined in a triangular formation. And they all came to what looked like a stop and sat there for a few seconds, and then all 3 zoomed upwards and disappeared. We sat there in silence for a bit because, well, what do you say? Other than you saw that, right? Yep. Huh? I've lost touch with her, but I wonder if she still thinks about that sometimes, like I do. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why the flights would be grounded. What would that have been? It's 2001. Oh, so that was that. Oh, September 11th, 2001. Of course, they had grounded air travel while all of this was going on. That's right. Okay, I hadn't realized the date. They were after her 5-month-old son. What are you talking about, RJ? Huh. La Lechuzas. RJ is talking about something wild. 4 Lechuzas around my friend's house Tuesday. Oof. That's not good. They were after her 5-month-old son. Wow. That's creepy. Love to hear more about that. RJ, you probably got to come on the podcast. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, the offer is open. Love to talk to you about your experiences. I know you've got several, so. And here's the last one, number 15, Creepy Balloons by Denzel W. Denzel W. Denzel Washington, maybe? I love that guy. Small glowing balloons. They weren't those mini Asian-inspired balloons with the candle either. They were just floating in place a few 100 feet up in the neighborhood, drifting very slowly. Huh. So they weren't the Chinese lanterns, I think is what he's talking about. Those are really pretty incredible. Huh. But that's it. They were just floating in the sky. And what else? Nothing. Never, I mean, we don't know how long they were there. Drifting very slowly. I don't know. I mean, maybe they were old balloons. Maybe they weren't really, maybe the helium was getting pretty weak. And they just weren't like as quickly aloft. Maybe there wasn't much prevailing winds to carry them. I don't know. I mean, you got to look into all of these angles with this stuff because it's so easy to go, yeah, I saw this weird thing. Well, what did you measure against it to say that it was really bizarre phenomena? You know, can you rule out that it wasn't balloons or that it wasn't just a weather event of some kind, some strange barometer or something? I don't know. I mean, there's any number of things that can affect how balloons travel through the sky. Cold is certainly one of them. The colder a balloon gets, the less buoyant it is in the air, especially with helium, because the helium contracts and it doesn't have that same lift factor. So weather events could certainly affect how lazily balloons float through the sky. I'm not, discrediting what this person is saying by any measure, but these are certainly questions that I have about what they experienced. So crazy stuff, whatever it is. But that is Ranker. We made it through the whole thing. Again, I'll put the link in the chat so you guys can check out that or other articles if you so choose, because that's how we roll here. That's how we roll. Wonder Woman. Sorry you're late. Don't be sorry, Maggie. Just glad you're here. Whenever you can get here, attendance is appreciated, but it's not mandatory. I mean, I'm not gonna levy a fine against anybody that might be running a little behind. But it is wonderful when you're here, all of you guys. So, that was a good article. I mean, it was, again, most of those were too brief. They were too brief to get any kind of value from them or any real merit. Unfortunately, it's like, yeah, you saw this weird thing, and that was it. It's nice when people include some dialogue, we were doing this, and then this, and this is what we saw, and this is what we were thinking, and this is where it ended, or, blah, blah, blah. Just give us some measure of the experience. That's just me liking very much to hear these stories. And I've got so many questions for most of these because there just wasn't enough information. But it was a good article nonetheless. I love, that people do share their experiences, however briefly. I just have so many questions. So anyway, that was that article. I don't know. I thought it was, I love hearing different stories and different things about what people have experienced. So I did want to look at this quickly. Before we move on, because this is just one of those things I didn't get a chance to before the show, so I'm going to look right now, if you don't mind. Excuse me while I peruse my articles. All right. No. Okay. Nope, nothing new there. I was just checking on Sasquatch Chronicles to see if there was any new listener emails there, but there isn't any new ones posted that we haven't covered, so we'll move on from that. And we're going to go, I guess we're going to shoot the whole second hour by hanging out on phantomsandmonsters.com. Phantomsandmonsters.com is Lon Strickler's site, and you guys are all familiar with it. You regulars, of course, but if you're new to the show and you're not familiar with a lot of this paranormal stuff, this is one of those sites that you're going to find a ton of experiences that people have submitted to Lon in one measure or another. And it includes ghostly stuff. It includes, there was one I was going to pull up, but I think I'll cover it tomorrow. One of the new ones Lon posted was like, ooh, it's a good one. It has to do with a vampire. And I'm fascinated by vampire stories personally. Not that I want to meet one, but I have talked to one witness in my 8 years of doing this, that I firmly believe very well could have had encounters with vampires. And otherwise, it's just mostly counterculture stuff. But anyway, Phantoms and Monsters is one of those sites where you're going to find a whole truckload of different accounts, whether it's creatures and cryptids to ghosts to UFO stuff, etc. And Lon has been doing this for a long time, and he's really created a pretty impressive, a very impressive website. And that is phantomsandmonsters.com that you can go and check out. And I encourage you guys to visit there, because there are literally thousands of stories over there that we just could never cover on the course of these shows. And, not that it's our place to cover all of his stuff, but it's nice. Lon's been a friend of the show for a while, and he's appeared on the show a few times. But you can find information on Lon's published works over there. And that, he's got several books out. Some of them have to do with the Mothman. Some of them have to do with different cryptid phenomena, and much more. So check it out. And you'll find information on Lon's podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. And you can find Phantoms and Monsters Radio right here on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can find it there. And I'm not sure if he's on Rumble or any of the other platforms, but I know he's on YouTube, and he does live streams there, and is doing a hell of a job. So check it out, support him, and let him know we sent you. What did you say, RJ? Brent, I'm heading to New Orleans here soon, and want me to go bag you a vampire. No, but if you have an encounter with one, I do want to hear from you. Again, I like them at a distance. I like things like that at a distance. I think seeing that in person would just be that would be fudge stripe territory for sure. That would definitely be the code brown, as Don says. I don't want to see one personally. I just think it's fascinating that for all of these legends, for all of these stories that are a part of our cultures and folklores, I firmly believe that there's some fact that it's based upon. And it can be far removed from the versions that we have today, but it doesn't negate the fact that people experience something horrifying, and were very, very afraid in the past of having encounters with beings like this. So it's certainly something that, and again, when I've researched things like vampires, it's double tough to find any information on them, because you find historical, very, very historical accounts of villages that, people were being attacked, and they allegedly tracked it down to a recently deceased person. And when they exhumed the body, the corpse is in pristine condition and, looks, vibrant and alive, even though it's obviously still a corpse. But they would do things to the body then to hopefully stop the phenomena. And it apparently did. I don't know. But there were other things that you find when you research vampires are a lot of the goth counterculture stuff, people dressing up and, gluing fangs to their teeth and trying to drink blood and stuff. And take it or leave it. It is what it is. I mean, I don't really care what people choose to do as long as it doesn't hurt other people. But that to me is not true vampirism. It's not a true Nosferatu or vampire. So, again, I've only talked to one witness that's experienced it in all my years of doing this, and it was a hell of a story. And it's on the podcast episode. So if you're one of our podcast listeners, you go to Spotify or iTunes or whatever platform you choose, you can find our podcast and go through the archives. I think it was season 2 or 3. Where I interviewed his I think it was Paul. Paul was his name. He chose not to use his real name, but that's fine. But it was an incredible account and encounters. So definitely check it out. But I will read that story tomorrow because I didn't pull it up for tonight. However, the stories I did pull up for tonight, they're good. They're damn good. There's a lot of good ones, and there's some I've had open here for a while that I've been kind of skipping around and choosing which ones to read on a given night, but this one we'll get to. Before we go on, Caveman Steve is still chatting over in Rumble, and he says, my aunt passed away in 2021, and her son was with her standing outside of the farm. Farm Kyle? I don't know what a Kyle was, sitting on a swing, and my aunt said, what's in the field? Kill looked at and didn't see anything. She said it looked like a white piece of plastic snagged on a stick blowing in the wind. He looked again, and when he turned back, she dropped dead of a heart attack. Oh, geez. Oh, that's crazy. Was she seeing her last thing? Did it frighten her to death? That's a weird way to go. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that, Steve. I appreciate it. All right, so Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, from phantomsandmonsters.com. We've got some Bigfoot stuff because we're heading into the cryptid corner, ladies and gentlemen. What in the hell is that? What in the hell is that? Let me fix this. You can kind of see my tabs all over the place there. Let's do that. And we'll move it up. There we go. You can see all the tabs I'm working with. I've got tons of them open all the time. That's just one browser. I've got two other browsers that have full lines of tabs that I keep open. I know, probably stupid. But we're going to go into March 13th, 2024, reported Bigfoot activity in central Maryland. And, it's, I'm not real familiar with Maryland, but when you think of Bigfoots, Bigfoot, I don't know that I usually think of Maryland. That's pretty interesting. Well, let's see what this says. And Lon opens up, says, I received the following information almost a decade ago about Bigfoot activity in central Maryland. I lived in the region for 40 years and had my encounter in May of 1981 there as well. Well, there you go. Lon had his own Bigfoot sighting there in Maryland. So I guess maybe I should think of Maryland. I was given your link by a local UFO community concerning Bigfoot sightings. Around 2001 or 2002, I started working for the USPS as a rural letter carrier in Westminster. I had previously worked with Westinghouse at its Oceanic plant in Annapolis for 13 years before that. Northrop Grumman had purchased Westinghouse some years earlier. I was called to sign papers concerning my security clearance at Oceanic after I had told them I'd found a job with the USPS. So after signing the papers and listening to their debrief, I headed home. On Route 97, a female woman was attempting to flag me down for help. She looked like a member of my art group, so I pulled over. It was not the person I thought, but she said that Bigfoot had grabbed her friend and taken her into the woods. Oh, dear God. Without thinking, I went into the woods about the time I realized it was exceptionally stupid to do so. I spotted the girl being carried away. They were so far in front of me that I would not have said that it was a Bigfoot. A few seconds later, I spotted a military helicopter in the sky, and it was circling. It got lower, and I saw the crewman open the door and place a weapon on a mount. I had picked up a large stick. I tested its strength on the side of the tree and needed to pick up another. After picking up a second stick, I could see the crewman point at me and whatever was carrying the girl. I became very frightened, almost to the point that I wanted to run. However, within seconds, a blonde girl who was not dressed from the waist down came running towards me. She rushed past me and continued running. I know the copter was following whatever had grabbed the girl, and when I made it back to the road, Maryland State Troopers had pulled over. The blonde girl was so frightened she ran out to her friend in the car. She was still not dressed from the waist down. On my way back, I spotted her clothing and picked it up. The police detained us at the location, and I listened to the girls tell their version. but later I was sent to my vehicle. 2 troopers asked what had happened separately, and later one of the troopers came to my vehicle and said, "Your people want you to leave now." He made other comments suggesting I was still in the military. I'm a former Marine and cut my hair very short. I used to work out at Hapkido from 1985 until 1993-92 nonstop. I had a sparring partner who we later learned was an FBI agent. He had told us he worked for Social Security. Well, I picked him up from where he said he worked on several occasions before class, and we found a weapon. After we found a weapon in his bag, he said that he was an FBI agent. He stopped coming to class after that. Well, he showed up a few days after the Bigfoot incident and said that I had spotted a biker/survivalist who was wanted by the authorities. He was indeed a huge man, over 6 feet tall and ugly as hell, but he was not a Bigfoot. I told them I was too far away to get a good look at it. Whatever was carrying the girl had shoulders so wide that the girl's waist could easily fit between his shoulder muscles and his neck, with gaps on both sides. This implied that whoever was carrying her was 7 to 8 feet tall. I grew up in Randallstown, and we had all heard the Sykesville monster stories. I've heard tree knocks almost every time I entered the woods as a youth. I didn't know about tree knocks until a few years ago. I also delivered mail at the Woodstock PO for about 2 years. Several of the customers claimed to have seen Bigfoot. When I was delivering back then, there was a prime ape sanctuary, and I know of one incident when numerous federal authorities were at that location because of a series of Bigfoot sightings. They blamed the sanctuary for allowing one of their apes to escape and not notifying the authorities. I still technically work for the USPS in Westminster. I am in non-pay status, but not Bigfoot related. It's a long story, and last year on my new route, a drunk driver went off the road and made circles in a farmer's field. A few days later, I was told some youngsters made additional circles in other farm fields. I was told lights had been above the fields, and this was the motivation of the kids. The police came and demanded that those farmers harvest their crops where they had circles. The farmers were very upset with the demands of the federal government. It seemed the feds were worried that news media would spot the circles and make a big deal. A little bit of cover-up. The day the farmers harvested their crops, a policeman from Taneytown, who lives in Westminster, stopped on my route and had me pull in front of his garage. The farmer, who had a field behind his home, was discharging his rifle in that direction, and eventually the local police showed up, and I was able to continue on my route. I had a parcel for his home. He claimed that Bigfoot was stealing his corn crop, and I was told to leave after dropping off my parcel. Several years earlier, while on another route, a farmer had clearly faked crop circles one day. A few days later, another set of crop circles appeared. I was told they did not look like the fake circles, and he was told to harvest his crop. While continuing on my route, 2 customers claimed to have seen a very large Bigfoot. I had reported a very clear sighting of 3 Bigfoots many years ago while lost in the Elk Ridge area. I attempted to report it to the websites in Maryland, and about a year later, one site responded back and took my report. I told them I might have had other less clear events, and they said having a second sighting would discredit my sightings. His initials are SN. Lon comes in again and says, since I lived in the area, I'm going to try to decipher some of the information he provided. The incident he described in the Annapolis area actually did occur. I was told about this by a local BFRO investigator not long after it happened. In fact, the BFRO investigator stated that there had been sightings in the same general area for many years. As well, this area is only a few miles east of Patuxent Research Refuge, the site of the infamous Maryland Goatman and other strange anomalies. SN's information about the state and federal military authorities is consistent with other incidents in and around the Baltimore, D.C. metro area. Unusual sightings, UFO and cryptid, are sequestered and buried. Any investigator who lives and works in the area knows that all too well. The Sykesville monster sightings are also a fact. In the early to mid-1970s, there were several encounters, 3 documented, with a Bigfoot-like being in and around Sykesville, Maryland. When I started to investigate the sightings after my encounter in 1981, I discovered that there were at least 8 other sightings and encounters along the south branch of the Patapsco River during the same period, between 81 and 2001. And there were 4 Class A sightings within the Patapsco River/Liberty Reservoir watershed, according to the BFRO. Woodstock, Maryland had 2 documented sightings, one in 1972 and another in 1993. It seems like there are more Bigfoot in the Woodstock area since SN was told of other sightings since that time. There have been reports worldwide of UFOs and Bigfoot seen in proximity together for quite some time, and many of these reports have come from Pennsylvania and continue to be investigated by Stan Gordon. These incidents of lights, crop circles, and Bigfoot in and around Westminster, Maryland are not surprising. I've received similar reports since the early 90s. Well, that's interesting. That's a lot of background. Huh. Very cool. Whoops, my chat is not current. There we go. Huh. Well, there you go. I don't know about the whole abduction thing. That's creepy, horrible, scary. I will say, and here's the thing. I know a lot of people like to presume that the Bigfoot are these wise, peaceful, benevolent beings of the forest, but again, we don't know. There's First Nation communities and histories that tell a very different story of these things, them being extraordinarily harmful and taking and dragging away children and women from villages never to be seen again. It's a terrifying possibility, and perhaps it's similar to people. Like I've said many times on the show, there are people that would bend over backwards to help you. They give you their last $5, if you needed it. And then there's other people that rather, slap you in the face or beat you up just for looking at them. And that's the diversity of behavior that we have in the human species. So it's also possible, I guess, that if these things are intelligent, that it could be the case as well. It just takes one, right? Well, or several. And who knows? I mean, I don't pretend to know the histories real well. I don't know real well, but at any rate, I always advise caution. We just don't know so much. And when you don't know much, it's best to not assume. All right, we're going to go to another story from phantomsandmonsters.com. That was a good one. I really enjoyed that one. Lots of layers of stories dealing with it. But I guess, when you live in an area like that, that seems pretty supercharged for a lot of different events. It doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't surprise me. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to go to a lizard man story, and these are extraordinarily rare as well. This is from March 12th, 2024. Lizard man seen crossing highway in Tangipahoa Parish, Louisiana. I'm sure I brutalized that, so I do apologize to any Louisianans out there. That's my apologies. But I don't think that's an actual photo. But anyway, let's see what it says. On August 2016, I received a text message from a witness who I later called, and he mentioned that he witnessed a lizard man in Louisiana while driving home. Well, I asked him to write down his account and email it to me. Sir, as I told you on the telephone, I was driving north on I-55 about a half mile south of the Route 10 overpass. This occurred last Wednesday, August 10th, around 11:15 p.m., and this was in Upper Tangipahoa Parish. Well, I was on my way home in Jackson, Mississippi. About 100 yards ahead, I saw something crossing the highway from my left to my right. When my headlights lightened it up, I swear I saw a walking lizard man. It walked like a human on its feet and was greenish-brown, shiny skin, The huge, thick tail was prominent and reached the roadway. The body was that of a man, same arms, legs, and head, maybe 6 feet tall. It swiftly crossed the highway, and I lost track of it when I passed by, but I still can't believe what I saw. I saw some stories you had on someone's website and found your telephone number, and I haven't told a soul about this. Thank you for talking to me. I wish I had more to tell you, but I definitely saw what I described. And the notes from Lon is, I believe that this particular encounter transpired before the heavy rain and flooding in the area, but I may be wrong. The witness said that he uses this route at least once per week between Jackson, Mississippi and Nowlands, as it were. The witness had told me that his uncle had an encounter with an unknown aquatic humanoid while fishing in a bayou in southwest Mississippi in 1997. He described it as dark in color with a human-like features, but the skin was slimy looking. He observed it at a distance of about 200 feet, and when it left the water and walked away, the witness said that his uncle was never the same after that sighting, and that he ended up self-deleting in 2006. Oh, I'm sorry. The witness sounded sincere, though I wished that there was more information available. I don't know of any similar sightings in that area, even though I've received reports of reptilian activity after the Hurricane Katrina devastation in the New Orleans area. And that was from Lon. Yeah, Katrina really stirred up a whole bunch of weird stuff. If you ever listen to Dark Waters, he's got a few long episodes dealing with stories that came out following the hurricane and even during the hurricane. It's a lot of strangeness, a lot of creepiness. And, again, everything's possible, right? So, good story. That was a lizard man. And I don't know what to make of these either, because it's either a cryptid that just doesn't come to the surface much. Maybe it's a subterranean kind of thing. Or, excuse me, hold on. Or it's some extraterrestrial thing. I don't know. You be the judge again. It's anybody's guess, folks. What did Rachel? You had a big. Oh, okay. What is this? Oh my goodness! Everyone is crazy here at the moment. Ay. Well, I'm glad you didn't get run into, Maggie. Says Hubs was backing into a parking space and somebody almost drove into us. Yikes! Yeah, that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing, but almost as good. But it could have been worse, right? All right, let's go to the next one. How are we doing for time? 8:21, folks. We got a lot of time left. All right, let me get to the next one, and this is also phantomsandmonsters.com. See why I love this site? I mean, there's just a robust array of different things. This one is back to another Bigfoot report. 9-foot tall Bigfoot stands in front of a car on an Oregon highway. 9 feet tall. When you think of what does that look like to see a creature that is 9 feet tall, or 9 foot or better, and if it's 10 foot, it's just like nearly times 2 of most normal people. It's like stacking 2 people on top of each other and then putting a lot of muscles on it. It's no wonder they can push over trees and stuff. Those things are so huge. It says a young girl is in a car with her mother and uncle when a 9-foot tall reddish-brown Bigfoot walks onto the highway and stops in front of the car, giving everyone a good look. Okay, so again, my head just reels every time I read stories like this. Why, for a creature that wants to remain hidden, do they wait until cars come and then jump out in front of them? It's like, really? I grew up on the country. You can hear cars coming forever away. You can hear them literally a mile or so away in the distance. And I don't know what the circumstances of this sighting were, but I mean, if you've got good ears, which I assume Sasquatch has much better ears than we do, they could certainly see them coming and avoid it, wait till they go by and then do their business, and nobody would know a thing. but they choose to go out in front of these vehicles. And, it's got to be the old counting coup thing like Bear suggested from the Bigfoot Outlaws. He suggested that possibly it's the males just kind of getting some props from others in their tribe. Like, watch this, hold my beer moment. I don't know. Yeah, craziness. So, and let's continue. A reader forwarded the following account. I saw a Bigfoot up close when I was little. I was 4 years old, and my mom was taking my uncle to work in Durkee, Oregon. We're driving up on Old Highway 30 between Baker City and Durkee, Oregon. It was 4:30 in the morning, and we were passing a 100-plus-year-old orchard, and my mom asked my uncle, "What is that, Tom?" My Uncle Tom said he didn't know what the thing was. It was big and covered with fur from its head to its toes, except for on its face and its hands. The fur was reddish-brown. It was the biggest thing I've ever seen in my young life. It stepped over the barbed wire fence that surrounded the orchard, and it leaped across the ditch and walked in front of our car. It stops mid-step, not more than 5 feet in front of our car, and it stood at least 9 feet tall, and it just stood there, staring at us for what seemed like an eternity. Then suddenly, it turned and took off running across the median between the old highway and the new Highway 84. It crossed Highway 84 across the median and up a hill, and it stopped at the top of the hill, turned around, took one last look at us, and then disappeared over the top of the hill. And that's it. That's the whole story. And that's 90-some% of most Sasquatch sightings is just like that. They just do it. And they don't care. It's very, very crazy. Is Deb going to bed? Deb, are you leaving? Or who's leaving? Jalapeno gravy would go well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Deb's a great cook, by the way. She always puts pictures of her food up, which is killing my diet, by the way. Deb, I just want you to know, your photos of food on Facebook, they're not helping. I'm trying hard to lose weight, and you're hurting me. Not that you should stop. It's just funny. It's like, oh, as I'm eating salads and boiled chicken and stuff, it's like my spit starts flowing and I'm drooling, and it's not nice. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you. It does look good though. It does look good. All right. We're going to go to the next one, which again is from Phantoms and Monsters. Let's check this one out. Another Bigfoot one. Is it all got as Bigfoot ones? Let me look at the next one. Red-haired Squatch. Yep. Oh, reptilian encounters. Maybe we'll go to some of those. But, oh yeah. This one is from March 22nd, 2024. Bigfoot. Oh yeah. They're out there. Absolutely they are. All right. The early accounts describe encounters with a Bigfoot at a logging camp in the wilderness of Northern California. I'm always curious. I know that there's still some pristine wilderness in Northern California, but you don't hear, at least I don't hear of a ton of sightings going on there in recent years. Not that I hear, like my finger's not on the pulse of Sasquatch sightings, so I don't hear about them unless I go looking. But I do. It seems like, in the 50s, 60s, 70s on forward, with Ron Moorhead, with Bob and Roger taking the video in Bluff Creek. And, there was so much going on in North California. It was like, oh man, that's just a Sasquatch haven. But I wonder if a lot has changed there and they've kind of moved deeper into forest, maybe north into Oregon. But it is curious. But anyway, let's check this out. It says, I've seen and heard Bigfoots, and I'm sure there's more than one, too. More than one also. Yes, of course. There are more than one. They were howling at one night. My grandpa was a hunter and a fishing guide at one time. I was staying with my grandma and grandpa at a logging camp where they were working in northeast California in 1967. Same year of the Patterson film. Well, we all stood at the window in our cabin listening one night and trying to figure out what kind of animal was howling because Grandpa didn't know. He was completely perplexed. It's not wolves. It's not coyotes. Well, I've heard recordings lately on YouTube of them howling, and it's the same kind of howling. I remember how I ended up seeing one because of my granny. She'd scare the heck out of me about bears, so I would stay close and not wander into the woods myself. I was out on my own while they worked. I was always watching the woods. One day when they had some time off, we went on a little hike through the woods together, and I, of course, was watching for bears, and I saw something dark between some big trees. So I looked closer, and its head slowly turned and looked straight at me. I didn't say a thing. I was in disbelief. I was watching where it was walking and looking back again, but it was gone. I kept looking at that spot, but it was so sneaky. It moved fast away before I knew it. Grandpa and Grandma never talked about such things to me, so it wasn't my imagination or put in my head. It was in the area where people claim to see them the most. Unfortunately, I can't remember exactly where, but I remember very big trees. And this is the first time I've said a word about the experiences to anybody. Oh yeah, they're out there. That was by LB. Yeah, they're out there, that's for sure. And it is more than one. I don't pretend to know how many could be out there, but I would suggest it's probably tens of thousands in North America, maybe less. I don't know. It's so hard to gauge and get any kind of real idea because, well, again, we just don't know. But it's obviously not the same group all over the nation. So they are definitely diversified around North America. But very cool story. They're out there. And we're going to go to the massive red-haired Sasquatch surprises man and his dog. Yeah, dogs are a good early warning system for Sasquatch, I think. As long as you pay attention to them, because they won't always alarm bark. They might just suddenly go real meek and skittish. And it would seem, at least for a lot of dogs, seems out of character. But let's see what this one says. A woman named Cece wrote to tell of a Sasquatch experience she and her husband had while driving through Washington State in the early 2000s. We have a Sasquatch story, and I wanted my hubby to write to you about it, but he wouldn't, so I will. I was there too. We're driving along the Pacific Ocean in Washington State back in the early 2000s. Our dog Goldie threw up in the back of the vehicle, so he pulled off the highway and let her out for a walk. He and the dog walked up a dirt road through the woods for a few yards, and he was taking a leak and noticed the dog cowering. There you go. Cowering. Yep. Goldie didn't cower at anything, so he looked up, and as he described it, a wall of reddish-brown hair between the trees. He also smelled the smell, and he also felt the fear. So he zipped up and walked quickly back to the vehicle where I was cleaning up in the back seat. I remember I had the creeps. As I was cleaning the mess up, I felt very uncomfortable, so I started singing a little song, and my hubby approached the vehicle and said sternly, "Get in." He was not his usual self. Well, I quickly wiped the rest of the mess, and we got in and drove off. He then told me of his experience, and I guess it wasn't spectacular. Maybe if he'd accidentally peed on the big guy or girl, it would have turned out different. Some people claim that when you urinate in the woods, it's kind of an affront to them because maybe it's like scent marking the place, Obviously, canines do that and many other animals do that. They urinate for basically marking territory or other scent markings, as it were. But some people have suggested that that's a good way to rile up a Sasquatch, is start taking a leak in the woods, because they don't want you marking up their turf. And, you know, I mean, you can kind of understand. Somebody came into your yard and started peeing, you'd be like, hey, what are you doing? Not here. So anyway, interesting story. Just kind of incidental, but also kind of not. Whoo-wee, I'm burning through these stories. They were very short stories tonight. All right, so we got the reptilian encounters here. This is from March 24th, and these are 2 separate reptilian encounters in Stark County, Indiana, during November 1988. Very cool. Again, this is the other part of the unusual. That's hard to understand. It's like there's so many things out there. Pretty much all predators do, John says. Yeah, I think they do. You're right. Wolves and any other animals, I'm sure they do. Yeah. Luna gave up and went to bed, and I have a possum having a snack on the porch. Love all my animals. Deb, you're just like a Dr. Doolittle over there. All right, let's read about these reptilians. 2 separate reptilian encounters occurred within 10 miles of each other, Stark County, Indiana, in November of 1988, and it seems like more than a coincidence. What are your thoughts? Yeah, exactly. All right, I had a weird encounter in November of 1988. My ex-wife and I were near Bass Lake, Indiana at night and saw some type of craft with many colored lights land nearby. We moved towards it where it was close enough to get a decent look, and it was shaped like a triangle with a pointed end at the bottom. It hovered just above the ground, flashing and glowing different colors. Well, not long later, a door opened on the side and a ramp came out. We started to get out of there when we noticed a weird-looking thing coming down the ramp. It was shaped like a man, but it looked like a lizard with huge feet. It stopped moving and looked over in our direction, and we got out of there. I returned to the spot 2 days later and didn't notice anything. I did experience very bad headaches and body aches for a few days, though. What do you think we encountered? Sounds like possibly some radiation if you're getting headaches and body aches. Sounds like you encountered some kind of pretty high-intensity field anyway. And Lon notes, there was no name or contact information. I replied by email, but never received a confirmation. I was looking at UFO sightings in Ohio, Illinois, and Indiana, and came across a report from November 8th, 1988 that was eerily similar to the email I received. The link was from the Albert Rosales database. Location, Knox, Indiana. Date, November 8th, 88. Time was late at night. The 12-year-old witness had gotten up to get a drink of water when a flash of multicolored light attracted his attention to the yard. He turned the lights on and walked over to the large picture window. Oh, thank you, SoCal. Appreciate the donation. He turned the lights on and walked over to the large picture window in the living room. Looking out, he saw a large diamond-shaped object resting on the lawn. It had flashing multicolored lights around its edge and appeared to be made out of copper-like metal. An escalator-like device now appeared from the object's left rear edge and slid down to the ground. A small humanoid now appeared and walked down the escalator and disappeared behind the object. Moments later, the being reappeared and began walking towards the house. The humanoid was described as 5 foot 3 inches tall, with normal arms and what appeared to be claws and strange double feet. I don't know what double feet means. The being wore a belt and a buckle and appeared to have some type of symbol across its chest. It had a large nose and large square mouth and huge dark brown eyes. The skin was lizard-like green with scales and wrinkled. The witness became frightened as the being approached. Suddenly, the neighbor's dog began barking and the being stopped turns its head around and looked directly at the witness. The next thing the witness remembered was seeing the object lift off silently and disappear into the sky. Ground traces were reportedly found the next day. And Lon's note is both sightings were in November 1988 and approximately 10 miles apart. As well, the descriptions of the craft and the beings were similar. I'd say that this is more than a coincidence. Yeah, it kind of sounds a little too familiar, right? I don't know. What do you guys make of that? Is it the same incident just being recalled by one being reported and the second one just being embellished? I don't know. That's a tough one, but maybe they do just land and have a very similar way of landing, and the sliding escalator thing and the lizard guy. Maybe he was doing a circuit that night. I don't know. He was doing like Randonautica. Who knows? Who knows? Could be any number of reasons people would be doing that, I guess. I don't know. 8:39. We got 20 minutes left. I don't know what I got left. I think 1 or 2 left. And I might have to pull something else out. Just saying, we're burning through the stories here. These have been very short though. This is didn't we do the Navajo one when Don was here? Yeah, we did. I forgot to close it. Yeah, we did this one. Okay, I'm glad I looked at this. So I got one more that I've pulled up, and then I'll have to pull up another one. Lizard people appear to breathe our air. Yeah, it seems like it. Who knows? Again, they could have any number of technologies that we can't really directly observe that could be handling the air for us. But I suppose maybe they're biologically similar in their needs for atmospheric oxygen, and they can handle it, or at least tolerate it for a while. I don't know. Who knows what it is where they're from? That's the thing. Is like I can imagine, when you think of a place like Venus, for instance, I think the atmosphere is like ammonia or something like that. And God only knows that it would kill a person in seconds, obviously. But I don't know. Maybe these things are coming from some kind of dimensional space that's very similar to ours. Maybe they're coming from interstellar space and come from other planets that are similar to ours. I don't know. I always hear M-type planet, but I think that's a Star Trek thing. I don't know if that's a real classification of planets, much like the Earth, if it would be an M-class planet. But I think sci-fi is where I'm getting that from in my memories. So, but maybe it's similar enough to the Earth. I know that there seem to be plenty of opportunities in the solar systems, in the universe, I should say, not necessarily solar system, but that have Earth-like planets surrounding those other stars. So maybe they're also developed very similarly. And it's, oftentimes we think of the other planets possibly being significantly different from ours. Like maybe we're a carbon-based life. So what if, is it possible there could be like a silicon-based life or some other base of life that has developed? Or is it just carbon-based throughout the universe? Is that the basic footprint for sentient life? And I don't, I think it's possible, but could it be somewhere else? Yeah, the Goldilocks planet, SoCal Squatcher says. They're from Tunisia. Maybe genetic made here. Yeah, that's a good point, John. They're not from here. Yeah. They don't seem to be. They're from Tunisia. What is that, Wonder Woman? What's from Tunisia? Lizard people appear to breathe their air. I'm just looking to see if I miss anything. Huh. I don't know, but if they're carbon-based life form, maybe our atmospheric needs are absolutely fine for them. We just don't know. I did hear a story. I think it came out of the Roswell recoveries. Some report that I read, or some claim that I read about the autopsies that were performed on at least a couple of the deceased ones. And it appeared that to this person made the claim that, they were basically had something similar to chlorophyll in their veins, and not necessarily, like blood as we would understand it, but it was more like chlorophyll, that they seemed to be more plant-based as far as a life form. And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know. It's the first time I heard of that, but what do you do? I don't know. Plant-based. I know I've met people that were about as smart as a plant, but I don't know. Anyway, let's get to this next one, and this is the last one I've got pulled up. And this one is an interesting one. It's not really cryptid, though. This one's just more like strange phenomena. But I was like, ooh, this will be a good one. And I've had this one open for a little while. It's from Thursday, March 28th, so I guess not really long. I guess yesterday. But anyway, let's check this one out. Coffee shop employee astonished by out-of-place customers. Again, I've often wondered, are there beings living amongst us, living in our communities, in our towns, cities, wherever, that aren't really us? Are they just approximating us? Are they just, pretending to be us, simulating us, but they're actually something else? And you kind of think, well, I like to think of like the Cold War. There were legendary stories, and probably true stories, of actual Soviet spies that were disguised as normal American families living here, but all the time they're collecting intelligence. And then you think, well, that's really not that far removed from what it might be like for an extraterrestrial family or a group of people living amongst us, that they would almost be like, these agents of another society, just watching us, taking notes, reporting in, that kind of stuff. So is it possible? I think so. Out of place, AKA as in non-playable characters. Yeah, like NPCs. Yeah, could be. I think there must be multiple Goldilocks zones out in the universe. Yeah, there are. I think there's millions. They prospective estimates are like either millions or billions throughout the universe of planets that exist in the Goldilocks zones. But I can't remember the numbers anymore. It's been quite a while. But interestingly enough, so let's hear about these out of place customers. I'm going to keep talking and talk right through my ability to read it. Yeah, we might go a little bit long. This is going to be a tight one, but I think we can make it. An employee at a coffee shop recalls their encounter with two odd-looking, strange-acting women who just seemed so out of place that they were almost non-human. I received the following account. I had an experience some time ago that I've never been able to shake off. This happened in Charleston, South Carolina, around Christmas of 2017. I used to work at a popular coffee shop that was inside a big box retail store. Well, one day I had two guests that struck me as odd immediately. Well, they were pale Caucasian women, probably mid-20s, that both looked nearly identical, but one was about a head taller, and they had the exact same haircut. Very straight platinum blonde bowl-like cuts. Their faces were quite round, and their eyes were a noticeably bright hazel color, and appeared quite large, but not in a disproportionate gray alien kind of way. They also had a fairly odd stiff gait, as though they had a board strapped to their back. And they sort of shuffled their feet around as they walked, and they both had on oversized sweaters, and I noticed later the shorter one had theirs on backwards. It's like, what's that tag doing there? The weird part was their behavior. When they first walked in, the shorter one looked around the store as if they'd never been in one. Her overall demeanor was somewhat childlike, like a good customer service rep. I welcomed them in and told them to ask if they had any questions. The short girl looked to the taller one as if for approval, and she then slowly nodded her head towards me, mouth slightly agape, and then attempted a hard wave. Instead of waving at the wrist like most people, she waves with her forearm palm flat and straight in a sort of robotic windshield wiper-like motion. She then turns to the taller one, who gives her an encouraging nod, and they proceeded to walk around the cafe looking at the cups and merchandise. The short girl would often point all around the store and seemed to be asking the taller one questions, almost as if this was a guided tour of sorts. Now, obviously, I'm no linguist, but my city is a fairly popular tourist destination, and I've met foreigners from all over the globe. Even if I don't recognize a specific language, I can usually estimate where it may be from, whether it's Germanic, Slavic, Asiatic, Mid-Eastern, etc. in origin, but the language they spoke to each other was a very strange and not like one I'd ever heard before. Imagine if you mixed Simlish, what is Simlish, with baby babble, and sped it up, lots of and ooh sounds. They continued checking out the merchandise and going on what seemed to be like a Q&A session. They would often open up cups and look inside, grab bags of beans, and squeeze and shake them. And at one point, the shorter one took apart a French press, and the taller one seemed to try to explain what it was for. And this went on for about another 10 minutes or so, when the short one picked out a studded cup to purchase. She shuffles her way to the checkout and puts the cup on the counter, frequently looking towards her friend as if looking for reassurance, who again does a simple nod and encouragement. She then looks towards me and attempts to smile, which is just baring her perfectly straight white top teeth, as though she were biting her bottom lip, and slowly nodding, not saying a word. And it was here I noticed her sweater was on backward, the tag sticking out the front of her neck. Now that I had a good look, I will say that she was quite oddly attractive, but there was something about her appearance that gave me uncanny valley vibes, but I couldn't tell you what it was exactly off. I will say I don't recall them ever blinking. I scanned the cup and went to on the typical checkout spiel, to which there was no reply, and when it was time to pay, she pulled out a silver credit card that had no markings whatsoever. No logos, no numbers, no name, just blank plastic with a chip. And she then looks back over at the taller one and says something, who then comes over and finishes the transaction for her, showing her as though it was a teaching moment. I hand her the cup and she once again slowly nods her head, mouth ajar, and does their windshield wiper wave. Simlish is a made-up language spoken. Oh, okay. Gotcha, Barbara. Thank you. Wiper wave. And then they then shuffled their way out of the cafe into the rest of the store, and I never saw them again. I've told this story to people before, and they usually hand wave it and say they were probably just tourists from Europe, or maybe they had a condition of sorts. But like I've said, I've encountered many foreigners, and none of them acted this much like a fish out of water. Nor was it their overall demeanor and behavior that this uncanny. I won't rule it out as a possibility, of course, but it just doesn't quite sit satisfactorily for me. It was just too weird. Interesting story. What do you guys make of that? Could it be? Could it be they were visiting from much farther away than Europe? Maybe their passports were a little bit further away. I don't know. That's very, very interesting, though. I like stories like that because I think we would, if suddenly all of the aliens that could be in this world turn purple, I think there's a strong possibility we might be like totally shocked. Phil, you're not from here? I think it might be that way. I'm serious. Because they're here. They're obviously here. They're doing something. And if they are truly monitoring us, what better way to monitor us than to get involved in our societies and to get involved in our day-to-day interactions and such, and to observe it firsthand. Maybe they could do it technologically as well, but there's nothing like being there, right? It's like the difference between watching a slideshow of somebody's vacation or actually going to the place yourself. It's like, it's hard to sit there and watch a slideshow and get really excited. The people that took the pictures are really excited, but for everyone else, it's just like, oh God, really? Really? You want me to see your pictures? Or on Facebook or whatever. Slideshows is a pretty dated concept, but you know what I mean. It's just like, yeah, there's nothing like being there. So perhaps it's the same for, if they're truly checking up on us, maybe that's what they do. They just get involved. They can hide. They can be right next to us and we may not know it. Other than this situation, it sounds like there was a few tells that they didn't quite anticipate. The backward sweater being one of them. And the awkward mannerisms and stuff. Maybe they should have done more homework before they came to check things out. But yeah, very interesting. I guess the card worked, no matter what it was. But then again, is that a shock? Nah. Not really if they're that technologically advanced. I'm sure they can fool our credit card machines. The bowl haircuts too. Exactly, yeah. I mean, who the hell does that? The 70s called, they want their haircuts back. I'm just saying. I never had a bowl cut, thank God. I knew some kids who did. Kind of worked in the 70s, but doesn't work anymore. Usually, just saying. But anyway, I don't know. You guys, let me know in the comments. Do you think people are here watching us, observe us, or beings are here watching and observing us like this? Do you think they could be in our societies? I know I've met some people I swear were aliens. They just had no emotion at all. Just very, and it could just be a psychological issue, but the sociopath or whatever. But SoCal says 100% yes. John Stevenson says, I think so. They have been for a long time. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why they sit there so quietly when they could get involved and really help us, move the needle forward. But it's my own personal disappointment. I can't imagine. I can't imagine being this evolved, developed race and people, and yet sit back and watch children starve, watch horrible things happen and not do something. I just can't understand that for the life of me. And be like, well, they're waiting for us to get there. It's like they might be waiting a long, long time, and is that fair? Because some of us, I think, some people are ready for that next step. But there's this other part of our society that is just bound and determined to keep things ugly. And, unfortunately, we're kind of painted in a corner, I think, But it would be neat if some of these beings that are here, that are watching, would get a little more directly involved with helping us sort this mess out. Because obviously they did it in the past. I think they probably taught people about agriculture and architecture and maybe even, more and more things, sciences and mathematics, who knows. But so obviously they got a vested interest in this. And why they just quit, I don't know. But there's been horrors through the history of mankind. I don't understand either. But anyway, that's enough of me. That's enough of my thoughts. Watch nearly 100,000 people live on the streets in the 5th largest economy in the world. Yeah. I mean, what a heartbreaker. We are food for them. Petri dish. That's not good. I don't know, John. That's not good. Watch nearly... hey, Brent, Princess Lion made a donation earlier. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Princess Lion. I appreciate that very, very much. I'm sorry I missed it, but when there's only me, I can't watch things as well. I have them all right here, but when I'm reading over here or looking there, I'm sorry if I missed it. But I do really appreciate the donations. It helps me out a ton. Helps me out more than you could possibly know. But great show as always tonight. Good night, everybody. Good night to you, Karen. Thank you. I'm sure one could be here in chat. My guess it's Rachel. You might be right. I don't know. She always gets it right. And God knows that's pretty rare odds for people. So awesome show, Brent. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Wizard Moon. Appreciate it. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I'll be back tomorrow night. I don't know if Jimmy will be here with me or not. We'll look into that possibility, and I'll let you know when I go live tomorrow. But until then, I'll be digging up a lot more stuff for us to discuss tomorrow, and we'll get back into it. Again, live shows happen on YouTube, Twitch, and Rumble every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 10 p.m. Eastern Time, or whatever that means to wherever you are. I don't know about the time zones all around the world, but we love all of you being here. So spread the word and keep sharing these episodes if you would. That would help me out a ton. So I love the word of mouth recommendations. They are obviously the best. Special thanks to Caveman Steve for piping in over on Rumble. Appreciate it. It's nice to meet you, and thank you for supporting the show. And anybody else that's out there watching, you don't have to be chatting to be valuable. You just, I really appreciate all you guys watching that are just sitting silently doing your thing. It just means the world. So I won't be here tomorrow. What, Maggie? Better bring a note from your doctor. That's all I'm saying. No, that's okay. Real life happens, Maggie, but we'll miss you. We'll try to have fun without you, though. But I hope everything's okay. So anyway, truth is, look over there. What's that? What is that? What am I looking at? Watching and liking. Very good. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Hope you guys had a good time. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of the journey. And I'm going to go kick my feet up for a little bit. I'm tired. Been a long day, but I hope you guys enjoyed the journey. And I'll be back tomorrow night. So until then, y'all remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Thank you, Naysay. Our good friend Naysay with the donation, Cannabis Resolution. Appreciate it, brother. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. So we will talk to you tomorrow. I'll be watching for you then. Tomorrow's bring a friend night. So just saying, might be taking attendance. If you didn't bring a friend, that might be a few demerits. But that's all we got. So good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.